Of course, after spring practice in May and June, a lot of these individual team program camps get revved up with a lot of the younger players in the high school ranks trying to impress for a couple of years down the road. But in regards to the big and national camps, it's almost time to go to camp again here. I know you're keeping track of Kaidan Prothro, a top tight end who's got a number of suitors there in the SEC.
Camp season is officially kicked off this weekend in Carrollton, Georgia. The Under Armour camp season was welcomed hundreds and hundreds of prospects, not just of the 2026 class, but some of the top talent. But probably the headlining guy, let's change a little bit, still talking on offense, but a position we don't talk a lot about and doesn't often have a lot of elite rankings in this, when we talk about the recruiting it. But, Kaidan Prothro is an elite blue chip tight end that every top program, every top conference has been looking to land. And the question is, some of the names we're going to mention obviously are the typical ones that we would expect to hear, especially when it comes to landing elite programs. But the one I'm interested to see that can make a late push is Texas. Can Texas make up for lost time? And I say this because Texas is trying to creep in landing a visit. Prothro says he's going to end up being at Texas, and it looks like they are going to close his officials. But I say this because Texas has yet to see him step foot in Austin. They have a lot of recruiting ground to make up. And with him being such an elite prospect, can Steve Sarkisian really be able to, up the names that we're going to talk about? So again, this is a kid that, I use a phrase a lot, the same as advertised. Kaidan Prothro, when you see him coming off the bus, he checks every box. He's as advertised. When you see his offer sheet, his offer sheet is one that you would be envious of. There's every program from top to bottom, from every conference that wants this kid on their offense as a tight end. He's got a remarkable speed. Deceptively speedy, and of course his frame is massive. So again, he fits all the typical, checks off all the boxes, like we like to say in recruiting as far as the tight end position. And not only does he excel on the football field, Mark, he is not just a dual sport athlete. He's a tri-sport athlete, a 3-time state champion in football, also plays basketball and also plays baseball. So when you're talking about a kid who really brings a lot of athletic ability to the table, his name is right by it. His picture is right by it because he is as advertised. He definitely has no problem adjusting. Obviously, most are recruiting him as tight end, but it'll be interesting to see. He's one of those players that you really could make it a plug and play guy, possibly as a big bodied end wide receiver. But for now, everybody's recruiting him at a tight end. But again, he's one of those players that has so much athletic ability, so versatile, that could easily be used in the playbook at a lot of different areas as far as the offensive playbook. But for now, he's kicking things off in Athens, Georgia on May 30th. He's set to visit Georgia. He's going to be heading over to Tuscaloosa on June 6th to see Bama. Then he's also going to go to the rival Auburn. Like I said, Hugh Freeze is not going to let any top recruit get out of his mix. Auburn is a name that you're definitely going to be hearing a lot about. He's set to hit the Plains on June 10th. But again, Florida, also another program making a big push for him. Obviously, DJ Lagway, being the young quarterback he has also been on the recruiting trail, helping recruit a lot of the top young high school talent. And definitely Prothro could be one of those guys that they use in early on. So Florida is definitely gaining momentum, set there to be June 13th. And of course, can Texas make up for lost time? They come a little bit later to the mix. But as of now, Prothro says he's going to be visiting Austin for the first time on June 20th. So clearly, when it comes to officials, why I say that this is a huge deal as far as Texas being able to earn a visit. When it comes to official visits, as far as these guys, especially like top guys, we have to remember that it usually goes to the programs that have been recruiting the longest with the strongest relationship. So it's really interesting to see in the last couple of weeks what Texas has brought to the table. So we'll definitely be talking to some of our Texas insiders to get more info. What Texas is bringing to the table to be able to earn an official visit, because there's a lot of programs that he's visited that aren't getting officials, that probably been in more contact than the staff has at Texas. So again, and it could also be, with Arch Manning coming up as the next guy on deck, why not have another young guy with a lot of talent like Prothro be up in the mix too? So it's going to be interesting to see what Texas has brought to the table to, to close the show and earn that visit. But again, I look for Florida. I look for Florida to kind of be in the dark horse again. I like what DJ Lagway is doing up there, and I think Texas and Florida bring a unique mix to the table, because I think, unlike the other programs, they're willing to possibly bring on Prothro in a lot sooner, as far as a competition, to possibly earn a 1 or 2 string start. So I really like where this is going. Those are two programs that are anchoring on young quarterbacks in this upcoming season. So I think Prothro, as far as Florida and Texas, might have a slight edge as far as my dark horse choices. But again, I think it's going to be interesting to see the chemistry and what Texas is bringing to the table late in the game to be able to earn an official visit for one of the top tight ends in the country.
I don't know what it is, LeeAnn, but it seems like every time I turn around, I'm talking to somebody or talking about somebody who's got ties to Ole Miss. I don't know what the deal is in my life these days, but I guess Preston Ashley would be the latest name that I'm not real familiar with, and maybe Hugh Freeze figures, hey, I got ties to Ole Miss as well, so I'll take my shot at the Ole Miss legacy.
Well, Hugh Freeze and Lane Kiffin continue to battle on and off on the recruiting trail. The Auburn Ole Miss battle runs deep since Hugh Freeze left Oxford, obviously, and not so happy terms, heading over to the Plains looking to rebuild. But one thing that you cannot deny about Hugh Freeze is his recruiting ability, and what he can do as a recruiter during his time at Ole Miss, and obviously what he's trying to continue to do at Auburn. But one state that he really has strong ties, and despite him going over a couple states over to Alabama, he still has strong ties in Mississippi, and he's looking to pluck one right back from the backyard of Lane Kiffin and his staff in top corner. Preston Ashley out of Brandon, Mississippi, has been on the rise. He's a name we haven't talked a lot about, but he's definitely been making waves on the circuit within the state of Mississippi. And again, Under Armour camps like these are really a stage where a lot of these rising recruits can continue to up their value. And Preston Ashley definitely did it this past weekend and debuting, over in Carrollton. This is a kid that Ole Miss has heavily been recruiting, not just because of his athletic ability, but obviously because he's a legacy at Ole Miss. So they're always looking to keep those football DNA, those good Rebel genes continuing. But like I said, Hugh Freeze has built such a stronghold despite him being removed from the program, seasons ago, that he still has strong ties. And Preston Ashley is definitely, despite his loyalty and legacy to the Rebels and to Ole Miss, he's definitely considering Auburn a lot more than Ole Miss probably is comfortable with. Ole Miss has made no excuse. They been in constant contact with him. He's been one of their priority targets. But again, Hugh Freeze has a way of kind of working that magic, and the Tigers have definitely been one to watch as of late with Preston Ashley, to try to take him out of the SIP and move him to Auburn. He shared about some of the other schools that he's looking at, aside obviously from Ole Miss, and Auburn, is Florida State, Louisville, Mississippi State, and Tennessee seems to be lurking, and has done kind of a quiet recruitment with Preston Ashley, but that will be another dark horse to watch. As of now, it looks like he has set visits to the Plains, to Starkville and to Oxford, which he's visited several times. So this will be another interesting recruit to watch, as far as, will he stay in house? Will the battle, because this is a triangle battle if you look at it, because of course not only is Ole Miss trying to fend off rival and nemesis Hugh Freeze, they're also trying to fend off Jeff Lebby, and former offensive coordinator at Ole Miss, who's obviously the head coach for the Bulldogs down in Starkville, for one of the top recruits not only in the country but in the SIP. Again, this will be an interesting one to watch. But I'm excited to see his progress again. He's really just kind of been one of those quiet quiet stock risers that you like to see, but also kind of brings a lot more shine back to Mississippi. I really think that this camp season is really where we've seen a lot of kids like Preston Ashley, a lot of kids from the Mississippi talent pool really shine. And we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow on our Ole Miss live show. Got a special guest coming on tomorrow that we can't wait to have here in the SIP in Oxford that we'll share. But again, we'll talk a little bit more about Preston Ashley, but a lot of guys from the SIP making moves, and Preston Ashley is one of those guys. But who's going to be the winner? Auburn coming on strong. Can Lane Kiffin and all that extra Pilates and all that extra stuff and all that endurance he does in that season outweigh Hugh Freeze out of the Plains? We'll see.
Well, quarterback Landon Duckworth was already well thought of, no doubt about that, as one of the best quarterback prospects in the nation, but he apparently really helped himself over the weekend.
He did. Again, he's really another stock riser. Those who have seen him on the circuit, Ole Miss has been really high on him. Again, like I said, I think this is the first season that I really see Lane Kiffin really go out there and really make it a point with this 2026 quarterback class to make his presence known in several different areas with several different quarterbacks. And Landon Duckworth, Lane Kiffin personally going out to Jackson a couple weeks ago to talk with Duckworth, kind of show him, what he can do for him. Obviously, Ole Miss, we have no question. There's no question, just kind of the development and what Ole Miss can does. And so they're continuing to keep on that stretch. Of course, Duckworth was committed to South Carolina. And he's just really upping his stock. We saw him all weekend. He's been just rambling really high on the Rebels. So Lane Kiffin has definitely looked to keep him there. The love is real. He talks about having the opportunity. He was in Oxford this past weekend. Weekend for Junior Day, really taking the time to sink in with the staff. Taking time with offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss to kind of see the role. So he really feels like he could be at home in Oxford. His talent could really develop. But again, like many of these kids, they are weighing their options. Despite him being decommitted from South Carolina, once again, South Carolina still continues to recruit him heavily. He does say he's still in contact with South Carolina. They are by no means off the board, but he's really using this time, like many kids are that often open up the recruitment and decommitment, to just really look at other options and kind of see, really take the process in and really see what's going to be a fit for them, because this is a life changing for them, not just on the field, but also off the field as well. So Duckworth is also looking at South Carolina. They still continue to recruit him. Some other schools, obviously, to watch that have been coming on very strong, and he's hearing a lot from here as of late, is Georgia, Florida State, that he's in constant contact with. He shares, and he plans to visit all of those along with Ole Miss. And once again, we'll head back to South Carolina in the spring, but no official dates have been set. But again, Georgia and FSU have been in very strong contact along with Ole Miss. So he's looking to make stops at all those schools. He still there's still the door open for South Carolina. So of course, we know that there's a huge pool of 2026 quarterbacks that Ole Miss is looking at. Duckworth, Henderson, Ryder Lyons obviously would be at the top of their list with the commitment of his go-to guy, Jameson Powell, who we had on the show here a couple weeks ago. So there's a lot of options if you're looking for a quarterback. So the quarterback remains a high value position, but the Ole Miss Rebels definitely looking to continue to build a strong relationship and remain in good company with Landon Duckworth, and it seems like they're doing a pretty good job. So when the spring dead period reopens up again here on March 2nd, Duckworth will definitely be making a stop to back into Oxford and looking to continue to build. And you can bet that Kevin Bolden and Lane Kiffin and all that offensive staff continues to be stepping up their game, especially with Georgia and FSU and South Carolina lurking.